Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight I'm talking with Mike Webb. Mike joined the army in 1990 and served with the Sea Battery 3 RHA. Tonight he talks about his time in Northern Ireland, courses in Cyprus, and then later on we'll talk about what it was like when he left the army and he ran his own IT company and comparing what that was like to the lessons he learned within the military. I hope you enjoy this one. Give it a like, give it a share, and let other people know it's around. Hi, welcome to this episode. Tonight I'm talking to Mike Webb. I knew Mike many, many years ago in 3rd Regiment, Royal Horse Artillery. Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Very well, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, and you, mate, and you. Right, so if we can just start at the beginning. So if you can just give us a quick where you grew up and why you joined the army.
I grew up in a little town called Loughborough, most famous for its university. I originally sort of didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. Started out on my 16th birthday as a technical, electrical, mechanical engineering apprentice, which for those that don't know anything about technical mechanical engineering, you basically play with wires and play with millers and lathes. And for me, it bored the crap out of me. Absolutely hated it. It was one of those things where you set a machine off, you watch it take a little bit of metal off, and then wait for 20 minutes while it finishes its cycle, then move the bit of metal, and then kick it off again, and then wait for another 20 minutes to finish its cycle. And I didn't really see that as a way forward for a career.
Fair enough.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the electrical side, so I can wire a house, that's no problem. But the rest of it didn't really appeal. So I sort of bummed around, had a few jobs, took as much money as I could because I enjoyed life as a kid. And then, probably February 1990, there was an advert for linguists for the intelligence corps. So I actually joined the army as a linguist or as a trainee linguist for the intelligence corps. Went to St George's Barracks to do a sort of pre-development course because my fitness was quite crap because I drank quite a lot then. And then from there, got told that I needed to do the entrance exams for the intelligence corps, which I hadn't done. I'd only done the sort of tests at the recruitment office.
Yeah.
So the day I was supposed to start with the intelligence corps, I went down to Ashford, did the entrance exams with them, and then got transferred over to the artillery to do basic training. At the end of basic training, I was told that I request to transfer back to the Inc Corps. So no problem at all. Did my basic training, got to the end of basic training, and said, yeah, I need to transfer back over to the Inc Corps. And they went, sod off. You're doing your special to arms. Right. So I did signals as a special to arms. Really enjoyed that course because you were allowed out. Because I was at, did you go at factory?
No, I was during later.
Well, I went to Woolwich. So while you're doing your sort of special to arms training, you can go out of an evening if you're not doing anything. So basically, me and most of the guys on the course spent most of the time in London, having a few beers, enjoying the course. Enjoyed it, came top of the course. Didn't get best student because we had a party the night before we all finished. At the end of that party, I think we had a curfew of sort of 10:30. And about 11:30, some of us left and went up to the wonderful Queen Elizabeth Hospital with some nurses that we met. Returned about 5:00 in the morning. Went across the road, got a paper, and the Smiths was waiting for me at the gate. I went, what time do you call this? I've just been out for a paper. No, you haven't. I've already been check the accommodation, tell you what to lie in. So, I didn't get best student.
Yeah, good try with the paper, though. I like that.
Yeah. So, it's one of those that if you're gonna try and get away with it in style. Actually, make it look like it's plausible. So yeah, got back from that. Did the pass out for the course, and then headed straight over to third
Did you
on the
choose
afternoon.
third, or was it chosen for you?
It was chosen for me,
Yeah.
so I had absolutely no idea. I think there was me and a couple of guys that had done gunnery, and that was about it for coming to third. So I sort of turned up we finished on the Friday morning, got to Colchester on the Friday afternoon, straight up to the BSM's office. Yeah, coming in. Yeah, who are you? Gunner Webb. Lovely. How old are you? 18. Fantastic. You're going to Ireland. So, yeah, I'd put in the room next to the battery offices, worst room in the place.
Yeah.
Because if there was anyone going to get dicked, it was that room.
Yeah.
So tried to move out of there as quickly as possible. But yeah, so I sort of got to the regiment, had a couple of months training, and was straight out to Ireland.
So how did
That
you
was my
find the difference between the regiment and being in training then?
well, training. I was still at an age where I'm quite an intelligent guy, so I could get into Mensa aged 11.
Right.
I had that kind of level of IQ, and the biggest problem I had was that a lot of the military is monkey see, monkey do.
Hmm.
And when they're saying you do this, you do this, you do this, and then you do this, you do this, you do this, I'm there thinking, why? Why can't we do it this way? And they don't want to know about that.
No.
Um, and you know, as a kid, 17, 18, it's a case of going, well, you learn to shut up, because it doesn't help the fact that they have this process and you follow the process. So it works exactly the same for the island training. I sort of come straight out of basic training and you straight on helicopters, doing helicopter drills, and then getting thrown into a lynx, flown up and around 2,000 feet, doors open. You're like, oh my god, what's going on? Oh, I haven't fallen out yet. Okay, that's quite good fun then.
Yeah,
Um,
I know how that feels. I nearly fell out a couple of them.
yeah, and it's certainly that first island tour was the weirdest feeling I've ever had from that. Was when you do, I did sort of maybe 2.5 months
Yeah.
of training, and then you've got all these. Well, you've done the island training, so you go through, you do your bit of stanza, you go down and do Lyddon Hive ranges, and then you fly out, you land in Ireland, you get a Chinook from there over. My first tour was Fermanagh,
Mm-hmm.
and you get off this helicopter. You've got no ammunition. You're thinking, okay, we're at the other end, and a BSM walks out wearing a beret, going, "Come on, lads, yeah, it's all right. This place has never been attacked." So, and you're there thinking the world's trying to be is nasty and is out to get you, and you've got a BSM wandering around in a beret, just going, "Yeah, it's all fine." And about 3 months later, they got mortared.
Hadn't been attacked up until now.
Yeah, yeah. Lessons in life:
Yeah.
wear a helmet, and then they probably won't mortar you. And I did first island tour. That I grew up so much on that tour; it's ridiculous. It's one of those where we were assigned to the Royal Anglians.
Right.
So it was an infantry tour. We were doing infantry jobs. We had 2 contacts on that first tour, of which we were the multiple that got both of them. Both of them weirdly during Coronation Street, which makes me think that the RA don't like Coronation Street.
Yeah, they're not watching it.
They're definitely not watching it. So that was one of those things where you sort of look back on it and go, yeah, that's probably the bit where I actually properly grew up.
So how did it feel coming under contact for the first time?
We originally, we got mortared,
Yeah.
apparently. But what happened was they sort of drove up to a little lay-by near the border, sort of set this thing up, fired it. It went 10 feet off the ground, then went down and then hit the ground, burrowed along the ground for about 30 metres, and then had a small explosion. So sort of lumps of Semtex everywhere. And then they opened up on the Sanger with a Jimpy. And we were sort of, there was a multiple out on the ground, there was a multiple doing, we're on at PVCP, there was a multiple doing the sangers and the PVCP itself, and then there was us inside. And basically, one of the guys came running in, going, we're being attacked, we're being attacked, we're being attacked. And we all heard the explosion. And we're sort of headless chickens for a few seconds. I don't know how he did it, but I think he managed to cock his rifle twice, pointed it in a safe direction, thinking it was clear, and then shot the microwave. And in about 0.3 of a millisecond after he shot that microwave, everything just went calm. And it was like, okay, that's funny. Let's get ready and go out there.
Yeah.
I think the first one, we had a guy in a Sanger who managed to return 3 rounds from his jimpy before the belt broke, because they put the mount so that you couldn't actually move it around.
Ever.
So after that, the jimpy was never used. There was an LSW up there. And it's one of those sort of things where you look back and go, actually, it was really funny. Yeah, we might have been getting mortared, or we might have been getting shot at, but it was actually really quite a fun thing.
Yeah.
Which is quite scary to say.
It's not. It's what you're trained for, and it's what you.
Yeah.
You know, you got this. I've heard other people on the podcast say that, you know, once they've got over to Ireland, they were really looking forward to it, because it was especially then, like in the 90s, there wasn't much else going on, so it was the opportunity for you to do the actual job that you've been training for.
Yeah, I hate to think how many miles we covered. So we used to do. We rotated through from Mullen Bridge, which is a PVCP, right in the south, up to Bleak, which is the most westerly point, an RUC station up there. And from Bleak, you used to do 1-2 days out, do an overnighter, go and do, sort of watch the border for a bit, do soft target protection, things like the 12th of July parades, go and cover those, do overwatch on those, some covert, some overt, and the time flew by.
Yeah.
It's you learn who's really crap getting over barbed wire fences, especially with 100 odd pound on your back.
Yeah.
Never fall backwards into a peak cutting, because literally you just turtled.
Yeah.
Or you've got his arms and legs like that, upside down, or you're sort of lying backwards, upside like that, trying to get out, and it takes you 2 people to pull you out.
Yeah.
And some of these are 6 foot deep. So,
some of the hedgerows weren't nice to try and get through either.
No, but then it's down to. I was quite fortunate. We had certainly in our multiple, we had guys that were, if they weren't experienced, they quickly learn.
Yeah.
And they sort of they'd already tracked the path that they were taking before they were sort of a kilometre away. So it's about managing the route that you're going to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst ones were the river crossings. Oh, some of them were bloody cold, and it's not like you can. We used to quite often get, somebody's going to travel along such a route, so you've got to go and check all the culverts and all the bridges along there. Well, you've got one team walking on the bridge, and then depending on whether you were in good books or bad books, depending on whether you got a river crossing or not.
Yeah.
You know, some of them were sort of nearly 4 foot deep, and you're trying to get over.
Yeah.
But then, luckily, you're only out for. We didn't have anything after river crossing. We were generally back in for sort of 2-3 hours afterwards. So it's not like you're going to freeze.
It's not too bad.
But, yeah, but it was massive learning experience for me.
Well, like I say, I mean, it makes you grow up as well, especially coming out of training straight into it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Didn't really get to use your signalling prowess much then.
Well, no, I got back from the Ireland tour. And got put straight in the guns. So I'd never sort of been on a gun before. And it was FH at the time. So I got put into C sub, and we had a good sub.
Yeah.
We had real good lads on there. And I did my basic guns course, so passed that no problem at all. Learned to drive the gun. Didn't have a driving license, but I could drive a gun.
Yeah.
which was quite good fun. Did my sort of driving license after that, and spent a season on the guns. And then, we've been back probably 8 months, and then got warned off for the first regimental tour in '92.
Yeah.
So by the time we went back out to Ireland, I'd been home 11 months before we deployed again.
It's not, I bet that flew by because it's not a long time, really, especially with the training again and stuff like that.
We did. We got back November,
Yeah.
and were literally had December off, or had off, up till Christmas, and then came back from that. Did a season on the guns. Got to sort of end of the regimental exercise in July. All the regiment turned up, or all the regiment on parade. CO jumps on a Land Rover. Right, we're all off to Ireland. So, but at least they told it all together.
Yeah. Nice of them.
Yeah. So for the second Ireland tour, I did ops room. So, which was that again a huge learning experience, because you're seeing things from a tactical perspective.
Yeah.
And how you're sort of using resources and trying to make it as easy as possible for the guys that you've got. You get, if you have a few QRF call outs, then you end up having not enough sleep. So you're sort of trying to get the guys as easy as possible, just so they can rest up.
Yeah, I mean, I did on our last tour in 97. I was doing the ops room
96,
yeah. So I was doing the ops room then, and
Yeah.
Six Door and CMVs. Fucking at one point the Barry Clark as well. Jesus. But the ops room, it can be boring, especially if nothing's really happening. But when it does happen, you're the centre of everything. So you have to be on your game.
Yeah, we had 3 guys on, so we were doing sort of 8 on, not 16 off. It was 8 on, and then whatever needed to be done in those 16. When you're down to 2, it's 12 on, 12 off.
Yeah.
Plus you're relieving the guy for whatever meals. So I always did sort of drag stag. So my 6 hours off, which started at 6 o'clock in the morning, would start with relieving them for breakfast, then waking up, relieving them for lunch, and then relieving them for tea. Yeah. So you'd actually only end up, if you're lucky, you get sort of 2-3 hour kips. But you never manage to get any more than about 3 hours.
So where was that? Where was there?
I did Middletown.
Right.
So, and we had KD mortared while we were over there. So I didn't really, at the time I was doing 6 till 2 in the morning. So I didn't see any of that at all.
Handy.
Yeah, which was quite nice. But no, one of the weirdest things I've ever done there was the BC at the time wanted a new computer.
Right.
So we went to over to what's it called? In Antrim, the what's the place where you can go shopping in Ireland?
Lisbon.
Lisbon, that's the one. So went over to Lisbon, tooled up with 9mm, took the BC. BC sort of goes, yeah, I can. I'm quite happy in here on my own. So it dropped them off in a computer shop, parked the car up. What do we do now then? Hungry? Yeah, we'll go for a Burger King.
Yeah.
So went for a Burger King in Lisbon. Sit down, all nice 9mm just here, and it's surreal.
Yeah, it was. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. When was the last time you went into a McDonald's with an SA80? You just don't do it.
I don't know if I should admit this one or not. So again, when on the last 2 we did over there, I was doing some CMVs to pick people up from the airport and stuff like that, and we had to take a lad up to Lisbon HQ for a medical appointment. So we dropped him off, and we were like, "We're not hanging around camp. How long is he going to be? He was going to be there all day." So we buggered off into town, parked the car up. Like you say, I went off to get something to eat and all that, and then went into the supermarket, and it just felt weird that we'd come from such a high tempo area down in like Besbrook, Camlock, and all them areas, and then you were just milling about, and I needed to go to the toilet rather quickly. So I ended up rushing to the public toilets in the shopping centre. And as I dropped my trousers to relieve myself, the 9mm that was jammed in my belt fell out, landed on the floor, pointing out from under the cubicle. So, and I couldn't reach it because I was quite busy doing something else at the time. So by the time I'd finished, leant forward, grabbed it, sorted myself out, opened the cubicle door. And there was some bloke like washing his hands, just shaking. He just staring in the mirror at us, and I was like, "Afternoon," and just like walked out. So I was like, "Fuck yeah, I could have gone wrong." But you know, it was just so weird that you were, like I say, worried about everything going for you, and everyone's out to kill you, and then you're walking around Lisbon as though there's nothing there. You know, there's nothing. It was like a different country almost.
Yeah. We used to do the R&R runs,
Yeah,
and it was a case of occasionally you get, depending on when the flights were leaving, so you'd have sort of a block of people who go on one, and then you'd have the odd one going to a Bristol or an East Midlands or a Teesside, and they'd have a much later flight, and they'd be back earlier as well. So you end up having to do a single run just to drop them off, and then when they got back, they had to wait for everybody else. So they could be at Aldergrove for 7-8 hours
yeah.
waiting for people, and
I
you're
mean,
like, wow,
a couple of times we'd driven people up there, and you were, you know, as much as you were trying not to look like a squaddy in a car,
yeah,
uh, it was pretty obvious that we were. We pulled up. We were taking someone to Belfast City Airport, and we pulled up to the big roundabout in between Crumlin Road and that, Crumlin and the Falls, and we pulled up there, and there was four of us in the car, and the car pulled up next to us, and they'd obviously just fucking nicked it. These kids. There was probably about 20 of them in the car, it seemed. And they just looked over at us, and they just started abusing us. They knew we were squaddies. You know what I mean? They were like, pointing the trigger fingers at us and stuff like that. And it was just like, oh, fuck off, will you? And we couldn't get away because we were stuck at the traffic lights. And we just thought, if they're going to have a go at us, there's not a lot we can do. You know what I mean? So I just said to the lad who was driving, I said, lean back. So he leaned back and he's saying, I just pulled my pistol out and pointed at them. I just went, fuck off. And they sped off on the roundabout. So it's like, yeah, that got rid of them. Again, I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's the little things, isn't it?
yeah, you ain't going to get prosecuted in 30 years' time for that.
I don't know. If they found
Yep.
some of the things I've done in my life, they'd prosecute me for them, probably.
No. Didn't. Well, I did. Once we got back from that one, I moved on to command post.
Yeah.
So I actually started doing signalling and enjoyed that. Did my advanced SIGs course, did my basic CPAT course, and then we had the joys of Cyprus, didn't we?
I never went to Cyprus.
What, 95?
No, I was in Bosnia then.
Running around Happy Valley?
Oh, sorry, then. I thought you went to tour. Oh, yes. Yes. You know what? I fucking almost forgot about that then. Yeah. The lovely Carter course. Jesus Christ, yeah. Ugh.
I've got to say, that's probably the worst course I've ever been on in my life.
Yeah.
Not because of the location was good, the staff were generally quite good, but I didn't learn anything on the course at all.
I don't think you really meant to. I mean, you're supposed to learn leadership skills and stuff like that, but it was like a beast. It was just a beasting after beasting after beasting.
Yeah,
And that's not a mile and a half BFT course in Happy Valley either.
yeah.
No fucking way is it.
Well, I reckon we got there, and I was probably about 10 stone 9, and by the time we finished, I was down to about just over 10 stone. But I was quite quick then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sort of I was quite happy at 8:20, 8:30 for BFT. I used to do 9.5 because it was one of those where if you did BFTs and you did 9.5 BFT, you weren't quick enough to be considered to have to run in anything more than a BFT, and you weren't slow enough to get picked up that you might miss one.
Yeah.
So 9.5 used to be 9:15 to 9:30 was perfect for me. So I did those. I remember when we did your last one,
Yeah.
where literally we were all sprinting to do it. And I think they turned around to me and said I was about a 9:35.
Yeah.
and that's probably the quickest BFT I'd done in terms of you feel the pace that you're doing.
Yeah.
So on a normal BFT, that probably would have been about 8:15. So that's how much further it was. It was probably a good 250, maybe 300 meters further than it should be.
The thing
And
is,
then I
they knew
came
that.
back.
They fucking knew it as well. They knew it.
Yeah. And then I came back, picked you up with everybody else.
Yeah.
And literally all there going, and they're there going, yeah, 10, 24, 10, 25. I think you got in on 10, 29 and 3/4 or something.
No, I didn't.
Did they?
Just over, because they put me down as a fucking fail.
Joking.
No, so right, here's one for you. I didn't pass the course.
Did not?
Not until I got back to Topcliffe, right? And about a week, oh no, it wasn't even a week, it was a couple of days after we got back, I got sent out to do a BFT. Done the BFT, passed it easily, come back, and they went, right, you passed the course now. I was like, well, fucking hell, you know what I mean? Cheers. And then the lad who ran the BFT with us, because there was only two of us, they questioned him to make sure I didn't cheat or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, fucking hell, cheers, you know what I mean? I just slogged my guts out for 6 weeks.
The difference with Happy Valley was that it was about 22 degrees when we were doing them?
Yeah.
Because it was still warm, but that course was just the amount of running you had to do on the squad march, on the squad, to achieve a 15-minute turnaround.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. So I go and do one in Topcliffe, and I march, I do a bit of running, I march, I do a bit of running, I march, I do a bit of running, I march, I do a bit of running. And whereas on the one at Happy Valley, it was a case of you run, you march for a little bit, run again, march for a little bit, then run. That's it.
Yeah.
And just to achieve 15 minutes. So either, and the pace that we were doing wasn't a slow pace. And you sort of, well, okay, why don't you measure it? Get a bloody Land Rover. But I think they might have got the start point wrong. But then
it's there just
that CFT we did.
Yeah.
The CFT with the light infantry. Yeah, our feet can't move that quick. They've never been designed to.
I've only got little legs.
Oh, that was daft.
I'd say the maddest day on that course was when they took us down to the beach and we were doing water skiing on the morning.
Yeah.
So we were doing water skiing on the morning. Then in the afternoon we jumped in a daft and drove up the mountain, and we were doing cross-country skiing in the afternoon. Yeah. That's fucking mental, this.
Did you go on the downhill course with the Langnau skis?
No.
I did. Found one problem was that you couldn't stop. So what you had to do was, when you got near the bottom, you aim for somebody, shout at them just before you get there, and then as they turn round, you hit them. And that slows you down enough. Yeah, I did that a couple of times. Because they gave us about 20 minutes at the end.
Yeah.
Just to have a laugh. So literally, we got as far up the downhill course as we could. There's probably about 7 or 8 of us. And just went down. Oh, the Langnau skis.
Can't steer them, fuck all.
No, you can't. Basically, you just got to hope people get out of the way. Otherwise, it's sort of, there's 5 foot of ski in front of you, which is going to hit them. Yeah. And then when you get down to the bottom, where everybody else is snowplan, try snowplan and work.
No.
You've literally just got to hit somebody and hope that you don't kill them at the same time.
You don't hurt them.
Yeah.
So at the end of that course, we had that night out in Paphos as well, didn't we? Probably shouldn't mention anything that happened on that night in Paphos.
No. Well, remember the meze the night before?
Yeah.
Were you with us when it's Potts, who was basically knackered, and he had a few pints, went to sleep on the sofa?
Yeah.
On one of the sofas with a pint in his hand. So he drank his pint, put an empty one in his hand, woke him up and told him it was his round. Yeah. And he got up.
I don't sure remember much of the mezzy night. I mean, we'd been working hard, you know what I mean? So the beer might have took over, and I might have...
Well, didn't we have one? I think we were allowed one Keo up until that point. We'd been there, 20 days or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and we'd had one beer in the entire time. So, the mezzy was, most of it was people who were wiped out.
Yeah, mortal.
But they had an amazing whiskey collection behind the bar.
don't remember that. I don't remember much of that night. I remember the next
Yeah.
morning when we were going on R&R, me and Sean Callahan were like, they said, oh, we'd have to do trips in the bus. And they'd opened the shop on the camp, so they were selling Kia. So we said,
Yeah.
oh, well, we'll just have one of these. You just go on a bus. And we just stayed there most of the day waiting for the shuttle to go backwards and forwards. So we were out by the time we got there. And then it just snowballed from there. Yeah.
It was entertaining, I think, is the correct word.
Yeah. We nearly got.
Was it?
I think we nearly got the army banned from Paphos that night.
Well, we managed to. Was it 4:00 in the morning? They kicked us out of the hotel. Got to be around then.
Yeah, I remember having to go back to the hotel the day after. Me and I think it was Carl Britton.
Was Carl doing the full screws course?
Yeah.
Because we had M battery, Sergeant Major.
Yeah. No, Carl had to take us, me specifically, apparently, back to the hotel the day after with a blank check.
Was that for the bar?
Yeah, apparently somebody broke into the bar and distributed loads of crates of beer around people's rooms.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that, but it was nice.
I don't know nothing about it. It wasn't. I wasn't there. I can't possibly say. I know the guy said I don't know how he's broken the bar because my barman was stood there all night. Oh yeah, your soldiers is trained to sneak in. I was like, no, because you had a really small padlock on the back door. That's why it just fell off. I wonder what I think. So I've heard.
Yeah.
I went back up.
They do.
When I went back up with them with this like fucking blank check, getting a bollocking off him all the way up there, and went in the bar, and he says, right, blah blah blah. He's come to apologise. I apologised to the hotel owner, and then the hotel owner started having a right go at me. Just over, well over the top. There wasn't that much damage or mess. All right, there was a motorbike in the swimming pool, but that could happen to anyone. And
fell off a helicopter, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I wasn't there. I was asleep. The Carl Britton just looked at me and he went, right, put that checkbook back in your pocket. Give the bloke a bollocking for having a go at me. And then we jumped in the car and drove back. So I was like, fuck for that. He says, there's no way I was letting you having to pay him because of the way he was treating you. I was like, happy with that.
Were there a couple that hired a car out and decided they wanted to go to Northern Cyprus on that?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a couple of guys that hired a car out and sort of went for a little day trip and tried to get into Northern Cyprus, but through a crossing point that wasn't very accepting of them. So they had to quickly turn around and come back. Yeah, it was. Well, for saying we only had one night there, it was. Produced some memories. That one night,
definitely an experience that night. And it wasn't just like the odd person who was getting up to no good. It was the whole course, the whole full screws course, and the DS. It wasn't just like us idiots playing up. It was everybody. It was just.
I think I got that. We got that about 1:30 in the afternoon, and we were back waiting for the buses about 4:30 in the morning. After being kicked out.
So when we come back from that course, I went out to Jamaica with J Battery, and then I went off to Bosnia. So I mean, that year for me, 95, I think I was only home for, I think, a month of the whole year.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So what happened to you after Cyprus then?
After Cyprus, came back, did some gunnery. I got married in the July, and had a week with the missus up to beginning of August, and then some more gunnery straight out to Canada. So out to Canada end of August, back September, October. So sort of second week of October, applied for married quarters. So the next time I saw the wife was just before November. So I saw the wife, got married in the Caribbean, and had literally a week with the wife after that, and then next saw her 3 months later. Then we had a couple of bits with kept having to pop up to Otterburn to do Queen's Cup for the TA.
Yeah.
And then as of, I think, January, I went down to first to do base conversion with them. So I had a couple of weeks down there, then I had a couple of weeks at home, then got warned off for Bosnia with first because we had a command post and a couple of guns to, I think we were with B Battery to increase their numbers so they had sort of full wartime capacity. So I went down there, spent 4 months down there with RCP crew plus a couple of guns, and then so odd weekend at home, lined up all the vehicles ready to deploy, and then got called on parade. Right, leave the vehicles there. You're jumping on the bus. You're going back to 3rd. You're not going to Bosnia. You're going to Ireland instead. So my kit was packed for Ireland already because it was ready to go to Bosnia.
How did you find? How did first treat you with this? Not being from that regiment.
Well, Paul Sherrill was RSM there.
Right. Okay then.
And I'd had Paul Sherrill. I'd known Paul Sherrill from when I first joined the battery.
Yeah.
So I was sort of A troop. He was B troop. He then went on to BSMD, and then went on to RSM of First Reg. And I had some. Hello, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm very well, sir. How are you? And I think he sort of treated us a lot better being from 3rd than he treated the lads from 1st. Because, I think he wanted 1st to be as good as 3rd. And they clearly weren't.
That could cause some arguments in the comments on this, yeah.
Yeah, well, first very much the step back from King's Troop, and you've got 1st are the greatest at making things look shiny. But they were never a patch on 3rd in terms of gunnery, not while I was there. And I've done straight line gun positions with all of the UK artillery lined up, and they didn't get anywhere near us. Not a single one.
Because I might want to interview someone from 1st.
well, last time we had, certainly when I did it, we were running FH.
Yeah.
And we had all of the UK artillery lined up at Larkhill. And we had sort of 1st, 3rd, I think 19 were there, 7 were there, 2-9 were there, and a couple of TA regiments were there as well. And literally, at the time we had, I think it was a race between 2-9 and 7 as who could be last to report ready. And you're looking at some of them on a fire plan, they were 30 minutes late, 30 minutes after we'd reported ready. But C Battery won every single thing that came in, we were first to report ready. Up until the point where we got stood down to give somebody else a chance because we were running out of ammo. And they literally went, "You're not taking part on this one. You're not taking part on the next one. You're not taking part on the next one. We've got to save the ammo for the fire plan at the end." Okay? And we were having to rotate through guns to fire equal ammo. So we actually, every one of our 6 guns all fired on the targets to set them up ready for the fire plan, and then we got stood down, waiting for everybody else to catch up. And when the fire plan came through, we were first to report ready on that by probably 3 minutes. Which, gunnery when FH reporting ready, ahead of light guns, you shouldn't be doing that.
No,
but we did.
With a good crew. I mean, I went from Abbott to FH.
Yeah.
And I preferred, that was in 4-7 then, I preferred FH to the Abbott, even though you were cold and you were wet and you're miserable. But I preferred it. I was the layer. I loved it. I actually loved the FH70.
If I did layer on FH. I drove the FH. Which
if anyone doesn't understand about driving an FH70, it's got a 1.8 VW Passat engine and 3 gears, and you can drive it with the rear wheels down on the floor, and it's steered from the rear. It's
with joystick.
With a joystick.
It's not even a joystick. It just goes left or right.
Yeah, it's an experience, to say the least. It's a good laugh, though, I must admit.
I enjoyed it, so I passed my test on that. It's my test to drive one anyway, before I got a driving licence. But no, we had. I love the gunnery side of things. But going back to sort of '96, came back from first, went to Ireland. So literally did island training again for another 3 months, and then left the wife again for another 6 months. So we got back from that sort of April '97,
Yeah.
I think, and then I had sort of courses away and various other bits, and I put him through an ERE just to try and have some time with the wife. Yeah, we had a few personal problems up until then, and I'm never home.
Yeah.
So it was a case of let's try and get some stability. Hence, I went down to 3-4 Battery, joined A Troop down there, and did gunnery most days, and thoroughly loved it.
It's mad the amount of people I've spoke to, and I was the same. I didn't go there willingly, to be honest. It was a case of I had to. I needed a posting back to the UK, so I got there. And most of the lads who get told they're going to 3-4 Barry to do the 2 years or however long that they're down there for are like, oh, fuck's sake, I don't want to go there because they'd only ever experienced the school when they've been on
Yeah,
courses and stuff like that, and it's not somewhere where you want to be. You know what I mean? Really. But you get there at 3-4 Barry, and again, nearly everyone who I've interviewed, because I've interviewed a few lads already who were at 3-4 Battery, not one of them wanted to leave there. They all wanted to extend and stay down there.
I found it. I went down there and I got my DC6 to do. So I went down early, sorted out accommodation while I was down there, and did my DC RI6 course. And then, sort of 5 weeks, as soon as that finished, I then joined 3-4 Battery. So I'd already got pads accommodation down there.
Yeah.
Family was down there already. And I knew one of the guys through, I've been on my advanced SIGs with him. Anyway, when we had a crew of, two sergeants, one was a DC SIGs, one was a DC CPAC. We had me, another lad as DC SIGs. We had 2 DC CPACs, full screws. We had the gunners were advanced CPACs. So we had 3 gunners who were advanced CPACs, and then we had a couple of advanced drivers. And that crew could do anything.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Anything gunnery wise.
Yeah.
We went around Salisbury playing without maps. We didn't need them because we knew exactly the positions. If we had gunnery careers courses that you're looking after, if you have the gunnery careers come onto the course, come on and use the vehicles and whatever, and you go, all right, you're knackered. Yeah, fantastic. You get a kip. We'll do the night route for you. We'll stop. We'll wake you up just before we get there. And then you can say, yeah, okay, because we know exactly which route they're going to take.
Yeah.
So we'll do the guns. You don't need to do anything. The guns know exactly what they're doing. Just catch up on your kip. And the same with the YO courses. If the YOs were reasonable, then we'll do this for you. It's no problem. If they were proper jumped up, then it would cost them port.
Yeah.
Or beer.
Had the kind of similar experiences in C Troop, where we take the foos courses out and the BC's courses, the major one, and we'd be driving. I'd be driving the Warrior, and they'd be going, right, we need to go there, we need to go there. I was, sorry, but you don't. I drive this quite a lot, and this is where you want to go. Oh, where's the best place to see? And I'd be driving them in the woods, and right up to the end, there was it's over by Warminster. There's like a wood on a hill.
Yeah.
And if you know how to get into it, you can drive right up to the centre of it and park at the end and overview where the battle's going to happen. And
yeah,
I can see you. So I was just like, yeah, we'll go up there. We can't go up there. Yes, we can. Just stuff like that. You knew where to go for them. And, we weren't there to muck them about. We were there supposed to help them. But like you said, some of them, you didn't really want to help them. And the amount of foreign students that would come in, especially for the majors course, they'd come in. We had people from Kuwait. We had people from Jordan. and they just weren't
yeah,
interested. Bless them. They just
yeah. We were bombarding them in the OP.
yeah,
The bombard OP, where the gun's set up, there's pegs there for them, permanent pegs. So the gun is pulled up to exactly the point where it needs to be.
yeah,
And then the only difference is the weather. So as soon as you got the weather in, as soon as you update the AFDC or Bates, or depending on which, well, generally it was AFDC,
yeah,
then they're set in stone, and you record them so that you can actually check what the difference is going forward. Well, you can look at sort of what was the difference between there. You can look at different years. Same with the firepower demos.
yeah,
You used to do a Warminster where you sat there reading from a script. You're not actually talking to the guns.
yeah.
You're there reading from a script, pretending to talk to the guns.
Oh,
And the guns are already told when to fire, and they will fire exactly on that time. They've got a time on target, so all of that's already pre-calculated.
yeah,
And the only difference is the weather for it. So you start off doing the firepower demo for them, and you've got the artillery, or you've got the planes come in, then you've got the artillery, then you've got the tanks, then you've got the infantry and the engineers, or the engineers will come in, then the infantry. And it's great to see, but it's theatre.
yeah,
And the whole thing has been choreographed to the umpteenth degree just to make sure that it all works perfectly.
yeah. So we can sell stuff to other countries.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And you're there just going, yeah, so Zero, this is Charlie 10. Fire over. And you've got you're not talking to the OPs, you're not even talking to the guns. You're literally just reading through a script.
It's coming out a nice big speaker out the back. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is impressive. Like I must admit.
Well, 3-4 battery is, if you go down there and have the right attitude, then you will learn so much. It's the it's the home of gunnery down there, and you're the people doing all the courses.
Yeah,
You're supporting all of these courses, whether it's the CPAC course, whether it's the YOs, gunnery careers, whether it's the BCs and majors courses. You get to see every single aspect of gunnery.
yeah,
And you learn it inside out. And anybody going back to a regiment with that kind of experience is 10 years in front of anybody else, because you've done literally the equivalent of 10 years worth of exercises in 2 years, if not a bit more.
yeah. It's the only place really, without being on a tour or anything like that, you get to do your proper job day in and day out.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it absolutely amazing. I thought it was I thoroughly loved it down there. We had a fantastic crew. If we were dry firing, we literally had a choice of 7 or 8 people that could take the guys out, that could take the course out. No problem at all. And you just worked around that. And it allowed you, if you wanted to do bits. And we had a guy called Jimmy Butler, who was the CP sergeant. He should have been horse artillery.
Because that's a name that comes. Fucking hell, I've not heard that name in years.
Yeah.
I knew Jimmy from a long time.
You do tug of war?
No, we were in 3 battery together.
Yeah, well, Jimmy was absolutely. He made our bullshit look quite tame. He was the epitome of literally everything had to be millimetre perfect.
Yeah.
But he was a fantastic bloke. Loved his tug of war, and you knew exactly where you stood with him. He expected really high standards, and if you didn't get those high standards, he'd shout at you he'd shout up at you, because he was only a little bloke. But he was absolutely fantastic, and wonderful CP sergeant. I hope he went on a fantastic career. Not sure whether he did, because he was a little bit too.
I don't know what happened to him, to be honest. I'll have to find out. I got him into trouble once a long time ago. I crashed a Land Rover, and him and another guy got the blame of it. We were on a site guard, and we decided, instead of walking around the site, me and another lad decided to take the Land Rover. And neither of us had a license at the time, and it's private land, we'll be all right. So the other lad drove round the site and we timed it. And I said, I bet I can do it quicker. And I didn't, because I went straight off the road, like off an 8-foot drop, landed on the front of the rover. It rolled over 3 times, and I got knocked out. Luckily, I wasn't hurt badly. We didn't have seatbelts on or nothing. The lad who was in the rover with us jumps out the back because he couldn't get out. We landed on our side, and he couldn't get out the door, so he climbed out the back. We ran round a couple of times and noticed I was knocked out, and climbed back in, lifted my head up, and there was blood on his hand. And I was just him lifting my head up made me come round, and he went and pulled his hand away. Head went down again, knocked me out again, and he ran off to the guard room shouting, "Help! Help! Frankie's dead." By the time they'd all come running up the hill, I'd come to again. I was climbing out of the rover, and not a mark on us. I'd literally nothing. I had a bit of a concussion, but not a mark on us. The blood that was on his hand was off him. He'd scratched his hand on a bit of broken glass or whatever. But yeah, the RMPs had me on about 8 charges for that one, and then all of a sudden it all just went away. It just it just disappeared. Whereas I found out years later, someone had, I don't know whether it bubbled or made up a story or whatever, but they told the RMPs that we got told to drive the rover, and we hadn't, and we'd never told anyone that. So the 2 lads who were in charge on the site guard both got admonishments, so the promotion bans, which was out of order because it wasn't their fault at all. But I didn't know that until years later, and it was Jimmy Butler was one of them. So
yeah, Jimmy, absolutely fantastic bloke, really was.
No, he was. He was. I don't know. I'll have to look him up. I don't know whatever happened to him. Really, I think the last time I was at 3 Barry. So
yeah, he was sergeant, but then he was there before me and he was there after me. So and I did just shy of 2 years there.
Yeah.
But no, but that I went down there originally with the idea of I'd have some time with the missus, sort of try and get back on track with that. And I sort of got quite heavily into computers. Well, I was already in computers then anyway, but I got more into computers. So we were sort of getting nicking. Well, sorry, not nicking. We were allowed to. They used to get all the old IT equipment.
Yeah.
Artillery IT equipment was sent up to the training wing. Whether it was being disposed of, not quite sure, but they allowed us to take a few machines if we wanted them. By then, I'd done a city and guilds on stripping and assembling computers and repairing them. So I was sort of taking these machines and building working machines from them. There was a lad in RHQ that was part of the original software hacking group that used to provide us with a CD. I think cost a £5 for just about every machine with Windows 95 on it. Because they couldn't take Windows 98 because the processors weren't using sort of 386 processors. But we could get Windows 95 on them. Yeah. So we were putting Windows 95 machines in for people with Office 95 or Office 97, if it would take it. As much RAM as we could get into them. It was just, let's get people on there, let's get them using computers. And from there, I sort of had a chat with the wife and said, well, our option is we're going to end up going to Germany. Do you want to, well, we'll go to Germany. I can't see me progressing that much. By the time sort of I left, I would have been a Lance Jack for 5 years. I'd have been a DC SIGs for 2 years. I'd have had a recommendation. I had a recommendation for immediate promotion from a full screws course. That would have been 14 months previous. Then I'd have gone back to the regiment and probably spent another 9 months going, oh, yeah. And then buggered off elsewhere to, I don't know, Iraq or whatever. And the future just didn't look bright. Not military-wise, because, if you want to progress, you need to hit GCC. And I'd have had to hit full screw and sergeant in the space of about 18 months. Which wasn't going to happen. So I went, okay, so let's look at Civvy Street. So I did I signed off, did my Microsoft qualifications on NT4, so I did NT4 server and workstation for my resettlement course. Then did a week of that was 3 weeks, and I did a week at British Gas Research Centre in Loughborough, working for free for them on their help desk to get me some sort of hello, welcome to Civvy World again.
Yeah.
In the meantime, came up, had one job interview, got offered that job. British Gas offered me a job as well. So I ended up, I think I finished sort of early or mid-March 2020. I started the new job on the 1st of April, but I went back to British Gas and worked with them for another 2 weeks, doing first and second line support. And then started my first job out of the army, 1st of April 2020.
So did you find the transition going back into Civvy Street then? Did you find that quite easy, or?
The biggest problem, or the biggest, I think, issue, but this was mentally for me, was the fact that throughout my military career, I never worked with women.
Right.
So the women started joining 3rd, end in 97, beginning of 98. Well, I wasn't there. I was down in 3-4 battery. We had one female FOO down there. Can't remember her name. But I was working guns, so we very rarely saw her. So I never worked with women, and my first job was in an office where there were, I think, 50. I think I was employee number 48, and of those other 47 employees, probably 33 of them were women. And you go from a workplace where there's no women to a workplace where it's majority women. Like, okay. And that scared the crap out of me. For just, you have a crap with the lads, and all of a sudden you're in an environment where they're not female soldiers, they are civvies who are going to get pissed off if you start effing and jeffing around the place. And just be careful about it. So my first sort of 6-7 months with them was like, woo, I'll just walk on eggshells around every female. And so eventually sort of went, okay, yeah, it's fine. Just treat everybody exactly the same. If they're a twat, they're a twat. If they're not, then treat them nicely. And that's been my philosophy.
I was the same, mate. I mean, obviously, I was still in the army when there were, the lasses were coming in through at 3rd and working on the guns and stuff like that. But I'd never really worked in a close environment with women and that. And when I left the army and started working where I got the job, half the office was ladies. And
it's scary.
Well, you know what I'm like. I can be a bit loud and a bit obnoxious and a bit. I wouldn't have said I'd fit in straight away, but they kind of got used to me. Tiny bit. They didn't like my loud voice when they were making too much noise and I was trying to make a phone call or something like that. Yeah.
I ended up at the first opportunity I got, I actually moved into the server room. So I was sat in there with, at the time there was what, 1, 2, 3, about 6 servers, big HP per line beasts. Which is before your time. When an HP per line used to have probably about 8 fans in it. And these things were 20 odd thousand quid a piece. Because they were running a SQL database which was managing shopping centres, payments for shopping centres. And these things were beasts. And I think normal sort of sound in there was probably 70, 75 decibels. No, and it was great, but because our office expanded, and I think I was 48. By the time I left that company, the office, we moved to new premises, and we were up to like 135 staff in there.
Wow.
Yeah, and the whole company just boomed, and it was a great time to be working for them because I had projects left, right, and centre. I sort of went. I got there and went, okay, I need to learn the infrastructure and how everything sits together. So I used to be in at 7 in the morning. I'd finish at 8 at night. And just learning the infrastructure and looking at how everything was sat together.
Yeah.
I still do it now. I still got absolute thirst for knowledge to see how things are put together and how they work. So I spent up until Christmas with them, and the Christmas. It was that Christmas. On Christmas Eve, one of our lovely people received a nice email with the subject line of "I love you" with a little attachment to it. And they opened it, and in the space of about 15 seconds, while they were going, "Oh, what's this doing?" I'm not quite sure. Everyone in his contacts list, plus everybody on the global address list, had received this virus from him. And I think there were 4 people in the company that had received these viruses. And every single one had opened them. And by the time I got a phone call about it, which was just after I received my first one from them, you were like, okay, what can we do here? This is a bit knackering. So I turned off the exchange transfer service. So basically all these emails just sit there and queue up and queue up and queue up and queue up because the antivirus wasn't hitting it, wasn't getting it. And we had McAfee at the time. And I hate the thing. But sort of sat there going, okay. And we knocked everybody off. This was Christmas Eve Christmas Eve 2000, sorry. We knocked everybody off at 2 in the afternoon and went, look, you're not going to be able to send another email. And I worked through till about 9:30 at night, removing viruses from 18.5 million emails.
Wow.
But got them all cleared down. And swept them again, and cleared. And we had at the time 6 email servers, so I had to clean every single server. And once I'd done that, I was happy. Went home, Christmas off, and I think I came back, and because the whole company closed down over Christmas, no problem at all. Got back in Monday on the sort of just after Christmas, so the Tuesday afterwards, and they're like, "Oh yes, thank you, you've done a great job. Yeah, we'd like to give you a pay rise because you've done so well." So they gave me a letter and went, "Yeah, there's £500 pay rise. Congratulations!" Like, so I'm working up to sort of 70 hours a week for you to get your infrastructure, which you spent £250,000 on in consultancy, to get it to the point where it should be what they should have done. And I'm getting it there. I'm doing these just before Christmas. You all went away. I worked for an extra 7 hours just to make sure that your company reputation wasn't damaged in any way by these things going externally. And you've gone, thank you, here's £500, which was the equivalent of like 2% or something.
Yeah.
So I went, no problem. Yeah, lovely. Wrote resignation letter, went straight into the managing partner who in my office, went, there you go, that's for you. So, and then just turned around and walked out. He read that. I got a phone call about 5 minutes later from my boss, going, how much do you want? I went, just be reasonable. Look at the work that I'm doing for you and how different it is since I've started for you. At that time I was looking after Birmingham, Bristol and Cheltenham. So I was commuting between all 3 as well. And they went, oh, okay, I'll go away. And then I got a phone call from my big boss, the IT director, about 40 minutes later, going, yeah, we're going to give you a 25% pay rise.
That's a bit better.
Yeah, I went, oh, that's acceptable. Yeah, so just withdraw that. And after that, they gave me reasonable pay rises based on performance. But I literally replaced their entire infrastructure over a 5-year period. Took it from NT4 up to Active Directory. Went round. I worked one May from, I think I had the bank holiday weekend off at the beginning of May, and I worked every day and every weekend up until the bank holiday at the end of the month. Having to go around Glasgow, Edinburgh, Leeds, Manchester, Bristol, Cheltenham, London, upgrading the entire infrastructure, getting the systems in place, ready to go. So changing file servers from NT4 up to 2003. And when eventually had the entire IT team, because by then I'd been promoted, so I was looking after the IT support teams. I had 3 different teams working for me. And then we did the upgrade one weekend, did the final, rebuilt the PDC, so we had a brand new one there, ready to be the PDC emulator, stuck it in, and literally did the bang, do it. Yeah, that's done. Next one, next one, next one, next one, next one. And it all went smoothly in about an hour and 3/4.
It's not fucking bad going that like.
No, absolutely everything was spot on. But then I'd spent absolutely months planning it meticulously.
Do you think
It
that
was military precision.
I was just going to say, do you think that your military background helped towards
Oh
that?
God, yeah, yeah. It's the military trains you to expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Find out what can go wrong, and make sure that if it does go wrong, you've already got a plan for it.
Did you
But
find that you
you've
were
also
trying
got.
to, sorry, did you also find that in the working environment you were in then, were you trying to change any of their practices that you could have turned around and says, right, well, not so much to say as right, well, we did this in the army this way because it's a very different job, but
Yeah,
there was
doesn't
working
work.
practices. You know what I mean?
No, with that you make it their idea.
Yeah.
So you very quickly sort of learn that if you turn around and try and get people to change, it doesn't work. What you have to do is you have to change their mentality so they actually look at it as a brilliant idea. So if you turn around and say, right, we need to, I don't want you doing that like that anymore, they'll turn around and go, no, I've always done it this way and it works.
Hmm.
So what you do is you take it from a different perspective and go, okay, so you show me what you do. Oh, what would happen if you do this and this? Oh, I don't know. Oh, why don't you have a go? And then you actually guide them down the path that you want them to go on, up until the point where they go, oh, that's so much easier, isn't it? I should do that from now on. And it's from an end user perspective, but you go up to sort of senior management level, and you've got to make it. You've got to sell something. You've got to sell what you want to do to them before you've ever got a chance of doing it.
Yeah, true.
So from there, I sort of learned writing board reports, writing proposals. Everything has to be justified. So I got sort of looked return on investment, looking at whether things are economically viable. Where if you're going to save 5 minutes of time for everybody in the organisation, well, how much does that work out at?
Yeah.
So then you can use that as a business case to actually put something in. But if you're saving 10 people 5 minutes a week, and it's going to cost you £150,000, that's an awful lot of weeks that you're going to have to make up for to recover that money. Whereas if you can save everybody 5 minutes a week, that £100,000 very quickly recoups itself. And it's looking at it from every perspective.
Yeah.
But you get that from the military, and it helps. But you've also got a work ethic, which says that you're there until the job is done.
Yeah, I kind of still suffer that myself, where I'm there till it's finished, and if it's not finished while I'm at work, I come home and I do it, and I keep getting told off, saying no, you've got to have your own time, and it didn't, it kind of didn't help with relationships at home and stuff like that, where I was concentrating on work too much type of thing. So you moved on later on to run your own company. What inspired you to do that?
Yeah. Well, I wanted the perfect CV when I got out.
Yeah.
So I worked for a medium-sized business, sort of 600 employees. I then went on and worked for a FTSE 100 company as sort of senior technical. I then went on and worked for a large multinational as an infrastructure manager.
Yeah.
I then worked for a company, part of the DIC group, Dubai Investment, who had bought this, who were an NHS supplier basically. And I only worked for them for about 3 months. And by that stage, I didn't want to work for anybody else.
Right.
I reached the point where I'd saw, you know, the military. You have the wonderful thing of integrity. Guys look out for each other, and in that company there were certain people looking out for themselves, to the detriment of, quite clearly to the detriment of others.
Yeah.
So I sort of went, not playing that, and I almost burnt myself out. I sort of gone in as sort of head of third line, in charge of a 35 million quid infrastructure, which travels around on the back of trucks. And if it doesn't work, it needs to be fixed. And I've got a sort of team of sort of 4 or 5 guys to do that. And that's anywhere around the UK.
Mm.
And you're sort of there going, and it just burns you out.
Yeah, I can imagine a pressure.
Yeah. So I literally went, right, I'm going fishing. So left that job and I went fishing for a month. And I'm lucky. At the back of my house, I've got lakes and little sort of canal stretch and some lakes, so I could just walk around the back.
Yeah.
And I could just sit there and go fishing for 2-3 hours, or 5 hours, or 6 hours, or 7 hours, and just sort of wind down. And that's really what I needed.
Yeah.
And at the time, I sort of had a thought, well, actually, I don't really want to work for anybody else. I'd rather work for myself, because I've got my standards. I've got my attention to detail. I know exactly what I'm doing. I've worked large multinationals, and bringing that to small businesses, you're bringing something that they won't usually have access to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from there,
understand it either.
No. So I've got companies where I make. They tell me what they're planning to do, and I come up with all the ideas. I come up with what they're going to need in terms of hardware, what they're going to need in terms of software, do cost comparisons for them against different manufacturers, against different solutions, so that they can see exactly what they're getting. And everything I put in is aimed at a minimum of 5 years.
Yeah.
So I don't put in cheap hardware. I only put in decent, worst case scenario is entry level business laptops, which are still 700 quid.
Yeah. And people don't realise that, this stuff costs money.
Oh yeah, but if you're having a 700 quid laptop, we'll push and get the 3-year on-site warranty with it.
Yeah.
So in the event that there is a problem, and if it's going to go wrong, it will go wrong after 13 months. You can guarantee it. So we get a 3-year on-site warranty with them. So for the first 3 years, it's covered anyway.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's paid for itself. Yeah, the higher spec stuff we can get with 5 up to 7 year warranty, on-site warranty for them. Mm. And every server I sell has got a 5-year on-site warranty, because it's just easier.
Yeah, I mean, I know where you're coming from, because I've got to deal with stuff that we've took on from other companies, and where they were sold, I wouldn't say pup, but they were sold stuff that they didn't need, or second-hand goods and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But
one of my first customers had spent 10,000 quid on a server which had about, I think I was saying like 100 gig of disk space total. And we're going back 14 years.
Right.
And 10,000 quid for a server. And if they'd have gone back 10 years before that, I could agree with them paying 10,000 quid for that machine. Yeah. But you're looking at the cheapest, nastiest drives available. They're not even server spec hard drives. Didn't sell them any licenses. Put a tape drive in there, which wouldn't actually cope with, if you actually upgraded the hard drives, it wouldn't be able to cope with it. You got a tape drive that backs up 40 gig. and you've got 100 gigs worth of disk space. Who added that together? And you're like, why have you done this? So first thing I did was I had to upgrade their server, which probably cost them another £1,000. But they'd gone from a machine that wouldn't work for them up to something that actually lasted them for nearly 10 years. And it still switches on, just takes a little while these days.
A bit longer. Don't turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, I decommissioned that one probably 3 years ago. But it still works. And it's if you buy something, it needs to last.
Yeah.
And it was a good manufacturer, don't get me wrong. But they also knew how to charge. So the machine they've got in place, in fact, I've just bought one for a customer where they need masses of disk space. So we've got them a new Dell Power Edge, which is about 1 inch and a bit thick, rack mounted, 19 inches wide, about 30 inches long, 11.4 terabytes of usable disk space, 2 SSDs as for operating system, and then if they need any more than that, we'll just QNAP them.
Yeah.
And we'll whack a 36 terabyte QNAP on there. And if necessary, we can then expand that and expand that. Yeah, and the server's got a 5-year. It's got a 5-year on-site warranty, and it's replacing a server which they probably paid. I don't know. I reckon they probably paid $9,000 for that, and this one's going in at about 6.
Yeah. Well, I think we've reached the end of the podcast for now. It's been great catching up with you, mate. You sound happy.
Yeah. When you have a job that you enjoy doing, then it makes every day that little bit more enjoyable. And if you can find something like that, and I found it with IT, and I really enjoy it.
Same here. There's people who know me know that I work in IT as well, and I've enjoyed the last 5-10 minutes there, probably more than the people who are going to be listening to it. So
they'll hate it.
No, but it's my hobby as well. So if I'm not doing it at work, I'm doing something at home. I'm knocking a server up and seeing how to install Docker images on it and stuff like that, and do things like the podcasts and everything. I'm doing a podcast not just for interest in that, for other reasons as well. And one of the reasons is to bring people back together. I've not seen you since, I don't know how long. 90.
Well, it would have been early 2000.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. Michael, yeah.
When you did BC's exercise, you must have done the BC's exercise. Beginning of 2000. Well, all the bait stuff on there, I wrote the exercise. Because I'd written an entire memoir for Bates for the CP. So basically, if they had any kind of issue, they could just look in this book, and it would tell them exactly what was going on.
Oh yeah, you'd Bates.
So, I did all the databases for it. I did the OP databases, did the CP ones that you could move between CPs, no problem at all, and literally just. I immersed myself in Bates because it was, again, something I enjoyed. It was, when you got a software error miscellaneous. Yeah, well, I could pin those down quite quick, but then I could do an entire database in about 5 hours from scratch, which when you're sitting there on the course and they give you 2 days to do it, okay then. Yeah, I'll do it in 5 hours. I can't be bossed with this, and I'll do it on my own. And it was supposed to be 2 days for two people. Yeah. One reading, we'll just do that. I knew my way around that system like nobody's business.
It's just a pity it was shit, isn't it?
Well, it was only shit because there wasn't enough faith in
it. I suppose there is that, yeah. But I think the other side of it is that it was already out of date when we got it, wasn't it?
No, only 20 years.
Yeah, only 20 years, yeah.
Which is quite positive.
Yeah, and I'd say that's ridiculous. In the military, that's positively up to date.
Yeah, well, if you had the MVMDs sending back the muzzle velocities properly, so that they actually talk, so the systems all talked. So you've got a gun that fires, sends back its muzzle velocity on that charge back. You could have a ridiculously accurate artillery system that's literally up to the second.
Yeah.
But it never quite knitted together properly.
I think, like you said, I think there was a lot of people they didn't trust it. There wasn't enough training on it really either, to be honest.
Yeah. I did a 2-week course on it, and then from there I just immersed myself in it. And we went out with first to do the sort of Bosnia training, and literally the database they gave us was absolute shit. So we just started it from scratch, and me and Cookie basically were there doing this database, and we sat there, we worked through the night to get everything right, and we're going, well, that data's wrong. And I could look at the data, the written database, and go, that's wrong. I can see it's wrong. And we got it all sorted by the morning. We were ready to go. And we fired a few rounds with it, and that was about it. I think all they wanted to do was verify that you could fire with base.
Yeah.
Rather than actually get to the point where you could have faith in the system. Because people were still sat there with an FDC going, yes, I need to check that the information coming out of your computerized system is correct according to this little calculator.
Yeah. Well, I think some people had more faith in the FDC than the
FDC was quicker.
Yeah.
Well, the FDC wasn't quicker. It was only quicker if you had a slow operator on the base. If you had a quick operator that knew what they were doing, then you could get information out to the guns so much quicker. You know, all you do is just go transmit. You don't have to read out all the data to the guns.
True.
The number one looks and goes, yeah, are we pointing in that direction? Yeah, we're pointing in that direction. Boom. And it's the whole process from OP to gun should realistically take around 50 seconds.
Well,
to be firing. But nobody trusted it enough. Yeah. Nobody trusted it enough.
Yeah. Right.
Everything
I'm going to have to say to Ryan now because we've come up to the time before we ramble on again. And
no problem.
Sorry. It's just I only get so long on the software type of thing. Before it I've used it too much on what I pay for. You know what I mean? Before I don't want to get cut off. Right.
You're an abuser, is that what they're calling you?
Yeah, maybe.
Getting close.
Right, I'll end it now.